Okay, this is Lab 4-3, Free Fall with Tracker. You need to hand in the purpose, the independent and dependent variable, the procedure, and printouts, and a conclusion. So I'm pretty much giving you the purpose here. To explore the relationship between distance and time for an object in free fall, and to determine the relationship between velocity and time for an object in free fall. Independent and dependent variables, I'll let you figure those out. We have two dependent variables in this experiment. The procedure, you've already done most of it, but you're going to obtain the ball drop video from SharePoint, track the ball's motion, set up the axes and calibration tape, copy into graphical analysis, properly label all columns with the titles, and properly label the units. Use the data to create two graphs. One is a distance versus time graph. And it's important that you do not do a linear fit on this one. Do, however, have graphical analysis connect the dots. One being a velocity, the y component versus time graph. And it's important on this one to have a linear fit. So on the printouts, you're going to have 3 copies of distance versus time graph, 1 copy of a velocity versus time graph with the linear fit showing, 1 copy of a data table showing all of the data. That's the time, the y position, also called distance, and the y component of the velocity, or Vy, and a printout of the tracks of the ball drop without the video showing. After you get all your printouts done, you're going to write up a conclusion. In your conclusion, you wish to explain what your independent and dependent variables were. Explain in words only what happens to the y position, that is the distance, as time increases. Explain, using words and a formula, what the relationship is between velocity and time. Explain what difficulties you had in collecting the data. In this experiment, collecting the data means tracking the ball. So what difficulties did you encounter, and suggest what you could do to make improvements. You're going to hand in 1 per lab group of the write-ups and the printouts. There should be 4 printouts. You want to keep 1 distance versus time graph for each partner. So you guys keep 1 that you don't hand in, and you do hand 1 in with the lab. And then you should also hand in the write-up with the purpose, procedure, and conclusion. Let us take a closer look at some difficulties you might have, or some tricky things with Tracker. Quickly reviewing, where your first dot is, that's where your axes should be. And we're going to keep this horizontal axis as x and the vertical axis as y. So in other words, the ball is dropping down in the y direction, which is the information that we're really interested in. You also need to remember to calibrate your calibration sticker. This white thing that's in the video is 1 meter long. After you've done that, which is fairly straightforward, the easiest way to copy this data is to go over here where you have your table options, click on that table and say, I don't want x, I do want my y position, that's my distance in the y direction. I do want the y component of my velocity, that's how fast it's falling in the y direction. And of course I want time, but it's going to be there. And so once you've done that, you can close this, and all that data will reappear over here. When you're copying data, be a little careful. If I double click up here, I've just rearranged the data according to that, and I don't want to do that. Okay, that's not a good thing. So I want to make sure it's all double clicked so that the time data is linear, it's going up. So to copy, what I do is I just highlight all the data. I put down copy selected data, and I want to go as formatted, and I've got it copied. Then I open up graphical analysis. I go to that first cell in graphical analysis, and I'm going to go ahead and paste everything. Once I've got that in there, you want to be sure and label these columns. The information transferred over from Tracker, this is telling you for sure this is your time column. This is your y column, which is the distance in the y direction. This is your y component of the velocity. So those pieces of information you should leave in there until you've retitled your columns. So be sure and retitle the columns and state what the units are correctly. Just real quick, remember that the name, we would put in the name thing, short name is just T, and then the units goes in that unit box, and then you're done with the titling. Be sure you title those correctly. After you get them titled, then just highlight those top two cells and you can go ahead and get rid of them. But wait until you've labeled your columns before you do that. That's about it. It's a fairly straightforward lab. Just come in tomorrow with the write-up so that you can finish it and hand it in. Thank you very much.